Hello, everybody. Ooh, I don't know about the rest of you, but I felt like I could actually breathe today as we head into the weekend. It's awesome stuff. Okay, little bit of a new experience because we have lots of people who this is your first time to the show. Can I see your faces in a little wave? Awesome. And then we have some of our super fans coming back. It's always nice to see you. But this is our monthly show where we share and talk about the Joanna 101 stuff and really the base ideas that I am teaching and talking about every week. So this doesn't have, well, we've got a conversation, guys. This doesn't have our normal toolkit and we're not focusing on the topic. This is a focus on a conversation about the future you. So what do I mean by that? First of all, I want you to get yourselves, especially those of you that are new to the happy world, in this mindset. First, that you are the CEO and founder of You Inc., right? In all of your future activities, past activities, you are the person who has been deciding how the business of you is going to run. And that doesn't matter if you are a solo entrepreneur, if you are the manager of a team, if you're a contributor on a team, absolutely all of us are the CEO and founder of You Inc. So well done. So if anybody asks you if you're an entrepreneur, say, yes, the company is me. Secondly, I want you to remember that as the CEO and founder of You Inc., you are in the I to I business. You are not a B2C, you are not a B2B, you are not a D2C company, you are in an I to I business. And what do I mean by that is you are in an individual to individual. As you navigate the business of you, you are connecting with other individuals and saying, hey, do you want to do future shenanigans with me or not? And if you both choose to do that, then you can. And if one of you chooses, because yes, you get to choose to not to do that, you don't have to. Now, whether there is a transaction of sorts associated with that, and the value of that transaction is entirely up to you and as you manage through, but you are talking to an individual. Because in the world of selling the product of you, which is what you are the CEO and founder of that company, people get to choose how and why they want to buy the future you. And so you need to think about selling it. And I come back to, I know I've just said buy and sell really quickly. In all engagements in your life, you are loaning your time to people. Now, whether you get paid for it or not is a whole different story, but you are loaning your time. You are all collectively loaning me to a certain extent your time right now. I am loaning my time to you too. This is a beautiful, no money transaction conversation. Now, my guess, my hope, my whatever, is that you will find value in this conversation, decide to do more stuff with me and with Kylie and Kelly and all of that good sort of stuff. Or maybe you will refer me through to somebody, or like Dawn, which thank you very much, Dawn, actually share with her network that she was coming to the show today. And if you wanted to have some serious FOMO, maybe you should not show, you should come join her as well. So however you want to engage is entirely up to you. But this whole idea is that I think it's time we all, especially after this year, took back ownership of our time and attention and how we want to apply it and use it with other people, other organizations. And how do you do that in a way that works for you, works for all of the other people that you are engaging with, and ultimately heads you towards a future that is really owned by you. Because I think we have, and again, especially this year, we've kind of let this year boss us around a little bit. And quite often we let other people boss us around a little bit. And I want everybody to be able to take back ownership of that. Because what also happens when you are clear about the future you and the value of the future you and what you have to offer and all of that good stuff, two magic things, well, a couple of magic things happen, but one, it makes it super easy for people to say yes to you, which who doesn't love somebody who says yes to you, right? I know I do. And it means that you get to do what you want to do. And I think when your customer is happy and you are happy, everybody gets to win at the end of the day. Okay, so there is, if you haven't heard the high level what Joanna thinks about the world of work and how we should navigate through it, you just got a little basic introduction. Now let me talk about what's going to happen in the show. And I am going to share my screen. So first of all, a couple of logistics things. One, if you haven't already, I would love you either on your phone or another screen in your computer, doesn't matter. Go to slido.com and enter 33221. Kylie, wave to everybody, Kylie, is going to drop a link in the chat right now so that you can just click on that and it'll automatically, magically happen because we're going to have a conversation. This is how I chat with everybody as we go through the show. Also saying hi to Kylie. She is there in the chat room to be my brains and answer any questions you might have or point you towards any resources. If I talk about things, she's going to drop them in chat there too. If you need our contact information or whatever, go chat with Kylie in chat. She is also, pro tip for those of you who have not been to one of my shows before, going to be the person who has the power to choose the volunteers. If you have not seen or participated in one of my famous fairy godmother transformations today, we are going to be doing them. And so if you already are like, oh my God, I've seen one and I want to be a volunteer, get in line with Kylie. She's going to be the decision maker. We also, if you didn't get it in the emails before the event, have a conversation workbook that you'll be able to take from this session and has a lot of the questions and ideas that I'm going to be sharing today. Last but not least, while our normal Live with Joanna shows have tickets and workbooks and we give away one-on-ones and all of this sort of stuff, this week and in this show, we're going to be rolling out a new challenge for people. And if you participate in the challenge, you win stuff, and specifically one-on-one time with me, we're actually going to give away. So stick around to the end because you have to be around to be able to hear the instructions so you can do the show. That said, if you ever want to rewatch the show, we will be turning it around. And Kelly, what day of the week will we be posting a recording of this show?
On Thursday.
On Thursday. So you can always go back and rewatch. We post all of the shows and we post all of the past shows on our YouTube channel. If we can find the link to that, we can drop it in there too, because we're all about sharing information. I will tell you, we've been doing this for several months now. And while these particular shows expect to be the same every single time, they never are. And so it's always a good idea to tune in, especially if you want questions or want to play, because we try to make these interactive. Okay, so with that, let's jump into my first question. So in this first question, let me go ahead and activate it. It should be, I want you to answer me this question. In your working world, whatever that looks like for you, I want you to just tell me what you guys describe yourself as. People describe me as a what? What have we got in the room today? And if somebody types in a word, MacGyver, love that. I'm just going to say it dates you a tiny bit, but that's okay. Interculturalist. Ooh, what is that? Customer connector, executor, but not the head off the top of the body type, I'm guessing. Solid performer. If you see a word in there that you're like, ooh, that's me too. So if there's more than one MacGyver in this group, feel free to put in the word as well. We don't have a single word that is popping out, but this gives us a good broad idea. Okay, here's my second question. Ooh, empathetic person. I assume not tinker like the real tinker, because don't tinkers sell stuff? Ooh, empathetic person just won. Now I want us to move on to the second question. So that's what they describe you as. What are you hired because of? I'm hired because I'm great at what? Why do people borrow your future you today based on what do you think? Because you are great at collaborating. We have a word. Solving problems. Oh, I see vision even there. Calm in the chaos. Solving problems. Awesome. So we've got a bunch of empathetic problem solvers in the room today. Empathetic collaborative problem solvers. Feel free, and I will pop back to this if we want to look back at it again, but I'm going to turn this off real quick, but feel free. So how many of you, if I said, are you an empathetic problem solver, would say, yes, that's me? I would hope every single hand would go up in the room, because here is what I have learned in doing this work about the future you is we tend to, as people, put labels on ourselves, and really simple labels and really consistent labels. And what is also true about these labels is we all are all of the positive words, because the truth is every single one of you, I have no doubt, is an empathetic problem solver. I have no doubt. I actually assume every single one of you is all of the words that were up on the page. Even who's my MacGyver in the room? I want to know who I'm. Oh, hey, Shar. My guess, for those of you who don't know who MacGyver is, go onto YouTube, find out. All I'm have to say is like paper clips and scotch tape. Like every single one of you has had your MacGyver moment as well. This is the truth about everything. And what I sit here and say is this language, are the labels of who you are and what you're all about, serving the future you? So really helping people understand, like, this is actually what I do and why I'm awesome. So people can recognize who it is and who you want to be, and setting you up for success. Is somebody, when they see that, able to say, oh, I totally get why Carrie, why Tammy, why Roxana, why Shar, why Kelly, why Robin, why whoever is awesome. Here's my other challenge is, are they also helping you figure out why you are uniquely awesome? Because you think about that first, when you are connecting with somebody, whether it's the first time or the 1000th time, the question we are all asking ourselves in our head is, do I want to do future shenanigans with this person? Right? That's the question we're asking. And so I sit here and say, like, in all of your connections and communications with people, are you messaging future shenanigans? And more importantly, are those future shenanigans going to move you, Inc., the future of you, forward? And now, lots of you have heard me say the expression, every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in. If you haven't, I'm going to let that sink in a second, because that decision in a room that you are not in is what I just described as happening on an individual to individual basis. This is why I talk about the whole idea that you are in the eye to eye business when you are a person brokering your time. And so in that eye to eye, you also have not only the individuals making those decisions, but people out in leadership teams, other groups, customers, partners, doesn't matter, who are trying to remember who you are and what you're all about. And when I come back to this, like, who is the future you and how do you talk about it and all of that good sort of stuff, the challenge that I throw out to you all is, how do you come up with answers to those two first questions that are recognizable enough for people to go, oh, I totally get who that is. And I'm actually going to use Shar example of that she's a MacGyver. So knowing that she's a MacGyver, I've told a story in my head around who she is and what she's all about. The story is she's kind of resourceful and can create things with practically nothing. Is that a fairly good description, Shar? Why you use MacGyver specifically? I've lost her on the thing. Oh well. Um, is it recognizable? But then is it unique enough to measure you specifically? Add the fact that does it serve the future you? And if Shar was still on the call, only because she and I have had some one-on-one time, I would actually say, is this actually serving the future you? The MacGyver character tells me she's really resourceful and good at getting things done with next to nothing. And yet I absolutely know that her goal in life is to pivot out of what she has been known for into something new. And MacGyver characteristics are not what her new role needs to be good at doing. So the first question I always ask of you as you are thinking about who is the future you and how do I tell everybody about it and why am I awesome and all of that sort of stuff is the very first question in the world of Joanna, which is where is it you want to go? Who is it you want to be? Or in fairy godmother language, what is your ball? And I want to go back to my fairy godmother story for just a second. Just a reminder, when the fairy godmother shows up, the fairy godmother's job is to help Cinderella get to the ballroom floor. Because if she had said, as an example, I want to go to a basketball game, or even if she had said, I want to marry the prince, my guess, the fairy godmother's strategy would have been a little bit different. But all she said was, I want to go boogie with the prince, right? And there were two major things that the fairy godmother did. One, she strategically helped Cinderella figure out how to get past all of the decision makers who also needed to go, yes, you have permission to be here. And yes, you should move forward. That's that future shenanigans thing, all the way to the top of the steps of the ballroom floor. So, because if she'd showed up at the party wearing the tatty dress and the really sad shoes, or I'm not even sure she had shoes at the beginning, they would not have let her past the front gate. And lucky Cinderella didn't even have to worry about the invitation piece. Everybody was allowed to come, right? And we as people in the working world have to be seen first before we get an invitation. So she had to get it all the way up to the entrance to the ballroom. What the fairy godmother also did was infuse Cinderella with the confidence to make the grand entrance down the stairs so that the prince could see her. Because if Cinderella had snuck in the back door and been all like, oh, let me just slide on in here and hope that the prince sees me, my guess is he wouldn't have done. But because she came down the stairs and was like, ta-da, look at me, I am fantastic, and don't you want to dance with me? The prince got to have his choice. Now, the fact that they ended up married and happily ever after and all of that good sort of stuff is a bonus point. And I will also say, because it also factors in how you think about the future you, that I think the fairy godmother was a genius because she put a time limit construct on Cinderella's experience, which meant she needed to leave the shoe behind. And I'm just going to tell you what that is in the world of you. Is she left a leave behind for the prince so that he could remember who she was. How many times have you been to a conference or a networking event or anything, and good Lord, handed out your business card when we used to be able to do that, right? Handed out your business card and said, oh, like, let's connect. And then you come home with a stack of business cards and you're like, I don't remember any of this, unless you're a superpower person who has one of those business cards you can write on. Like, how many of you guys have been to a conference and met all sorts of awesome people and then forgotten who they were the next day? Yeah. I've lost count. I have a box of business cards that I'm like, I don't remember, which is why pro tip number one, when you are connecting with somebody on LinkedIn, and I know those of you that have already connected with me have already been through the experience because I don't let you not tell me, send a personal note as to why. And please do not be generic and say, oh, it's because it's mutual connections or whatever. Tell somebody why you want to connect, Because what happens for them is they get insight into why you think they're awesome, which is absolutely going to make them go, who is this person? And more importantly, gives you a paper trail in the LinkedIn inbox of why you have connected entirely. Because how many of you have LinkedIn connections that you're like, I have no idea. We work together, maybe. Yeah, what a missed opportunity in maximizing your network. Because I come again, every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in. So it means, one, are you part of the consideration set? Do they remember you? And just because somebody is your boss does not mean they are going to remember you and what your awesome future is going to be. And then two, what are they saying about you? What is it they are saying about you more interesting than you are really good at getting things done, or any version of that language, which is 99.9% of the time what people say when they talk about somebody else. So with all of that, what do I want to talk about here? This is all good. I've completely jumped the shark on my presentation. So now we are going to get into, let's show rather than tell in this conversation. So if you haven't already and you are interested, chuck your name in the hat for the volunteer, because what I'm going to do right now is ask for a couple of volunteers to go through one of the famous Joanna fairy godmother transformations. And we are going to ask one of these three questions. So one, do we want to figure out who is the future you? Two, why should they care about the future you? Or three, how do we teach somebody about the future you? Because at the end of the day, all of the work that we do here at the Amplify Lab and what Kelly and Kylie help me with, and all of the programs that you see on joannabloor.com are what we are helping answer for you. So you can either do, we've got a value adventure where we answer all these questions, or you can work with me one-on-one. Ultimately, we still help you get through this whole process. It's very interactive, and you're about to see a bit of a demo of what it's like. So, Kylie.
Yes, we have our
Do
first volunteer, Dawn.
Dawn, where are you? Hello, Dawn. Oh, well, I am thrilled that you stuck your hand up, because again, big points to Dawn because she did an awesome thing on LinkedIn, which again, I'm just going to remind you, this is why I remembered her name. And have you been on one of my shows before? I think you put your hand up.
I have been on one other show, and I've recently just been watching all your YouTubes, so
Aww.
I'm excited to be here and be one of your volunteers. Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Love to hear it. Okay. So here is my question for you. Which of those three questions do you want to get answered? Who is the future you? How do you share who is the future you? Or like, how do you actually talk about it at all?
I want to do the one about why they would care about.
Why they would care? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Cinderella, what is your goal? Where is it you want to go that we are trying to teach? Why do we need to teach people to care? What is it you want?
I'm currently I work for a tech company, and I work with our customers, and we have a great internal cultural experience for each other, our internal employees. And I would like to move more in that space where I'm working internally on that team. So leveraging the skills I have with customers and my interest in people, and kind of flip it over into an experience team.
Okay, so from the customer service to experience team, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now I need you to brag for just a second, because you're in a safe space with a bunch of awesome people who are fans of you already. Well, why do you think you're awesome? Why are you great at what you do? Why would you be great in this employee experience team?
I am awesome and great at what I do. I can really leverage social media to connect and share and pivot for information. I'm excited about technology and leveraging the tools that we have available in our digital world to make the most of that for experiences. I'm willing to treat it like a lab environment where it's not going to be perfect out of the gate, but we're going to iterate and learn as we grow so that we make it better and better. I'm open to trying new things versus the same old way. And I'm excited about what my company offers internally. So I love being
so
able to promote.
I'm gonna pull you back in again because you've started to talk about what you want. Don't care at the moment. I want to know why you are awesome. And I'm only going to do this for those of you who haven't seen, I do shout at people regularly because I'm like, no, back up. Because this is when everybody asks us, like, what is it you want to do? Like the most common question when you're looking for a new job or you want to pivot or you're exploring this, everybody says, oh, so what is it you want to do? And I just sit here and I go, that's the last thing that you actually want to tell people because it starts to allow them to frame who you are and what you're all about before you've even started talking about the product, right? And you don't want people to kind of put you in a box because this is what we do as people. You actually want to talk about why first. And so I'm going to come back to, you've talked about you're great at leveraging social media, that you're comfortable with experimentation and technology, but let me get a little bit more focused. Like, what do you think? Why do you think the employee experience team needs your kind of magic specifically? What is it they're missing that they need?
Well, I think what they're missing that they need is somebody who's already been on the ground with the experience with our customers. I'm based out of Atlanta, our Atlanta office. So I've been with the company for a few years. So I have that background already versus starting from scratch and that learning curve. I have connections inside the company and I'm looking to still, grow those so I can kind of hit the ground running on
You're
more of
talking
that.
about you again. I'm gonna really begin. Why?
Yep,
What is
okay.
it? Yeah, this is not. I'm giving Dawn a hard time. This is not unusual, folks. We have to do the reel in a lot because this is what
Yep.
we're habitually done. So they need somebody who has. They don't have people who are experienced in the company yet.
Well, currently, I think they're looking outside the company for this job.
Okay, so now that's actually a really helpful insight. So you
Yep.
said they're looking for somebody outside the company. Why?
I believe the person who's hiring is looking for somebody with more of a background like hers, in addition to what she's interested in for the job description. I don't know why.
Okay.
I've talked briefly. I've talked with the hiring manager. We've been connected. She's got her vision of what she wants, which I admire, and I couldn't seem to pivot her from that background that she's after.
Okay, so we are not really going to be able to do a transformation. I want to do, however, transformation on your thinking.
Good.
Because you cannot sell a product to somebody they don't want. Like, when was the last time you bought anything? Like, I always think, anybody got any kids who won't eat a particular food? We've all run into that. You cannot force somebody to choose a product that they want. You have to back up and understand why. Because what I heard in our conversation was that you absolutely have confidence in yourself. I love the pink hair. I think that sends off a message as well, et cetera, et cetera. And you have a vision about why it's you, but it's not aligned with what her vision is of why it's you. And before you can actually even go through the process of changing her mind, you have to actually back up and understand what her mind is now. What problems does she believe need solving for that role in this current state? And once you understand that, then you can come back and actually align what you're good at with the problems that she thinks needs to be solved. Because what I'm hearing, and this is just me making some really wild assumptions here, is that internal experience in the company is not a requirement for her. So you shouldn't be selling that product, right?
Okay.
And maybe it's actually somebody with a diverse perspective, or maybe it's, and I'm just riffing here for a simple example, is it somebody who understands how to create curriculum development, or is it somebody who has a strong, I don't know if she has a strong HR background. Does she need somebody who has a strong HR to balance? Like, look at what she's really good at doing. And if you think, and this is where I come back to, while you are running the You Inc., the business of you, You are a consultant for the larger company. And so if you were looking at, let's just call her Pam for a second, is this decision maker. If you're looking at Pam Inc., what are the skills and the team members that she needs to surround herself, and how then can you talk about what it is you've done in the same context of what it is she needs? And so I think you are telling to Stella a product that she doesn't actually think she wants yet is a bit of your obstacle. And actually coming back and finding out what product does she think she wants, and then moving forward and having the conversation. But you're the last part of that conversation. It's about defining the problem and what are the solutions to that problem that's going to allow you to move forward. So transformational thinking. Let's try, and does that help, Dawn? Do you feel like you have a bit of a plan? Awesome.
Thank you.
Kylie, can we get another volunteer? Because we're going to do 2 today. Shaking.
Yes. Our second volunteer is Patricia.
Patricia, where are you on my screen? Hi, Patricia. It is lovely to see you. Okay, so same question. What are we doing for you today? Are we doing the why would they care conversation? Who is the future you? Do you just want a intro transformation, which I always can do as well? What do you need? What's your goal?
All 3 of them. But I'd like to focus on, I think, am I teaching my network about the future me?
Awesome. Okay. So question number 1 on that is, what kind of people are we trying to teach? I mean, other than
everybody.
Makers. Is this executives? Is this team members?
Yes. I would say director and above, but predominantly executive.
Okay. And are they the people who report into you, or do you report into them, or are they colleagues?
Report into them or colleagues.
Okay. So again, quick unpack for everybody. When you're thinking about selling a product, who are you selling the product to? Very, very important. Because if this was, and you could do, there's similarities across this, but if this was, I want to teach my team about me, which, by the way, has anybody started a job recently? I'm guessing no if you're here, but I always like to ask. When you start a new job, one of the first things that you can do that will connect you to your team is helping them understand the almost operating system of you. Who are you? What are you all about? How do you work? How do you measure success? Who is the future you? Because you want them to come on that adventure with you. Okay, so back to Patricia. I now know what customers. And in this concept of teaching about the future you, like if you teach them who you are and what you're all about, what happens?
I continue to get pigeonholed into what I do today. Okay. Even though the future me is an evolution of what I do today, and it's a role that's evolving in what I do today. But they keep saying, yes, but we need you here because you know this and we need this.
Anybody resonate with that problem? Yes. All right, this is, by the way, again, quick unpack. When I talk about this idea that you are known for being really good at getting shit done, ergo you become the get shit done girl, this is exactly what I'm talking about. No one, Dawn has a different problem, but Patricia's challenge is her product is so good that they don't want to get rid of it anymore. And what your audience doesn't understand is the value of actually letting you duplicate yourself and moving out and beyond. There's a big part of me. Well, actually, may I ask this other question because I think this is a useful tool for everybody. This is a weird question. In your day-to-day operations of stuff, I don't need to know what it is yet. In the what are you messaging out to people, what percentage of your messaging is what you have accomplished?
Sorry?
Versus
Food? Oh, you're just the announcer. I thought that's what you were saying.
Hold on, I'm just going to mute that real quick. Okay, so what percentage of your time are you messaging accomplishments, and what percentage of your time are you messaging vision?
It ebbs and flows, but I would say in the role I'm in now, I've certainly been doing more vision. So I would probably put it 60-40.
Okay, and vision on getting what you've done, or vision for a new future?
Vision of this, well, I oversee a team, so where this org is going and what it needs to continue to grow.
Which is still, I'm just going to seed plant with you. That's still a little of how do we get things done, as opposed to how are we innovating, how are we experimenting, because clearly your role is evolving, but they're still hearing a bit of the past as opposed to the future. And while it is technically the future plan, it's the future plan to still get the thing done. Yeah. Okay. So just as a thought there.
No, that's a great thought. That's a great thought.
I am a big fan, by the way, folks, of using mathematics to help people shift thinking around an idea. One of my favorites with leadership as well is when they're all like, oh, you can't have any more resources for whatever it is you're trying to do. And they want you to do all sorts of crazy, awesome things in the future. And you're like, I can't actually get everything done and do all of this sort of stuff. I have and I don't know if we've got the article still, Kylie, we did a bit of a transition on what I call now, near, and future thinking, and actually using mathematics to say, like, how much time am I spending in the now, which is stuff you have to do today because it needs to be done today, even though it might have a future, like what you just described is what I would call now work, Patricia. Then near work is R&D. So what should we be doing? Building strategy, thinking about different ways of doing things. And then future work is actually educating yourself about what is going to happen in the future that you need to anticipate. And if you think like, and I'm going to give you an example, like if you think about most CEOs, their now work is probably around 10%, they're near maybe 20, and they're probably spending 70% thinking about the future. That is their job. If you are sitting here and saying, like, if I actually mapped that out and said, how much time am I thinking in the now versus the near versus the future? What is that? And if your number, and if you are a director or higher, and your now number is higher than 70%, you are messaging getting stuff done. You are messaging that is where your focus is. You're messaging all of that. And what you can do is come to your boss and say, I did analysis on my team and the work and everything that we're doing. And I realized we are spending far much time in the now versus the near and the future. Can we have a conversation about what you think my numbers should be first, so that you can then come in and talk about because at a director level and above, your numbers actually should be closer to like 50, 30, 20, maybe even lower on the now work. And once they understand that mathematically, then people can have conversations. But I want to come back to Patricia. You know, I'm going to do, only because I want to show the team on the call a little bit of the transformation, but I think I've given you some food for thought just in our little backwards and forwards, I hope. But so just to benchmark for a second, how do you, like, if I was to say to you, what do you do today? How do you answer the question?
I ensure our customers find value in our products.
So you in product marketing or marketing?
No, customer success.
Customer success. Oh, okay. Okay.
We get our clients sticky, or get our products sticky.
Okay. And like, if you, so we already know that they think you're really awesome at what it is you do. What do they think you're really, is it the stickiness, or is it the, like, I think about customer success as a whole entity, and there's a couple of elements. There's the ability for it to, there's the stickiness element, which obviously is super important because that means that they don't churn. And then there's the ability to sell them more solutions because you're a trusted partner. Is there anything else, or is there one that you are really well known for today that they value more than others?
The expansion. The expansion means we've gotten it sticky. So it's the expansion and building a team that can really speak to that expansion and recognize opportunity.
Okay. And what do you believe the next phase of that is for the company? I mean, other than expansion is the answer. Do they know that this is the answer, or is this your answer?
What I just answered to you, I would say they know that's the answer also. And so there's a lot of operational debt from that. And so it's how it's, this world is evolving that, kind of customer success operations, like sales operations. Sales operations is one of the first things you think about out in sales, and it's the very last thing they're thinking of in customer success, when it should be at the very beginning.
Yep.
And so it is evolving into really building that out and handing the ownership of the customer success team to my successor, I guess. And then really building out the customer operations side for that efficiency and for scalability. But they don't find value yet in the operations side.
Yeah. I feel, I've walked that path before. And why, like, if I was going to, I sit here and I say, like, what are your moving parts here? And again, and just to kind of unpack for those of you that are listening in, what I do in these conversations and what I want you all to start thinking about doing is literally picking yourself up and putting yourself in the other person's shoes and asking yourself constantly the question, why do they give a shit? Why do they care? What are they messaging about who they are and their personal brand, about what they are and what they value? And what do they believe about the product of you? And Patricia, what I'm hearing is that not only do they really like your product, but they're looking at your product as a cost center as opposed to a revenue center.
Mm-hmm.
And what I know about sales operations is it absolutely can be a revenue center if positioned appropriately. So something to think about there. And then I come back and say, so it's almost like I hear the scalability and efficiency, which like any good operator is where you should focus. But I sit here and I say, I come back to what are the words you want people saying around you? And right now, the words you have been sharing are very laden. Operational debt, sticky, like it's all of the whole back language. And I sit here and I say, is there a better way when it comes to teaching people about how you think in the future, that there's almost a disillusion of weight in the process? It's a really different, I'm a little out there on this one, but go with me, is that, almost, this is a really different way of doing it. You could almost say, look, in the world of customer success, often the belief to expand means you need to add more, which ultimately creates operational debt and weighs down the process. The reality is if you look at it with how can we have the lightest touch possible, you can actually you can free both your team and your organization for future success. And when a customer is equally satisfied and free, they can grow with you. That's a bit of a narrative. And just by shifting your language from weighted language to that light language, it paints a slightly different story. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment for just a second. Luann, can I get you to unmic yourself for just a second?
Sure, hi.
Okay. Based on that new way of talking about it, what is it what is the story I just painted in your head for Patricia and how she thinks on the new introduction? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I definitely feel on the spot. I feel I should take a pass on it because I was really getting weighted down by how she first explained herself.
Okay. No, that's okay. That's not a pass at all. That's not a pass at all. Thank you, Luann. You actually were great. And I really appreciate you letting me just kind of pluck you out of this. But this is, now, I didn't help the matter because I pointed out that it was weighted, but this is the lesson I want you all to learn is we are messaging all day, every day, who we are and what we're all about and what is the product of us. And just a chat like that really takes an enormous amount of work to really shift the conversation and shift it to where it is you want to be. And we do it in the subtlest of ways. And Luann, I wasn't entirely sure what you were going to say, but your whole like, oh, I wasn't actually able to get, like, you knew that weighted was wrong and you weren't able to move it out there was part of that. And so, Patricia, I really challenge you, if any of this resonated with you, to start thinking about like, how do you start shifting your language to an accelerated future. And once they start hearing that, then you can start changing your mind. Because again, like, how many of you guys have worked in a startup or work in a startup environment, early stage product? Like, you think about, if you're in the startup world, one of the things that they always teach you is that in product adoption, you have early adopters, early majority, late majority, and then you have the laggards. Understanding, and my guess is if you mapped your organization on the people that you work with, when it comes to letting you color outside the lines professionally, there are some people who are early adopters, there are some people who are early majority, there are some people who are late majority, and there are some people who are laggards. No judgment on all of them. And so again, coming back and saying, as you're going through the almost process of helping people understand the future you, where are your customers in that journey? And as you think about that, Patricia, I wonder where your folks are. Dawn's got a similar problem in all of this. This isn't as much as everybody goes, oh, Joanna, you really help people with your personal brand. I'm like, you already have one. The question is it working for you, and is it serving for you, and how do you move forward? So while the first question, as you already can tell, that I always ask is, what is your goal? Where is it you want to go? Because you need to have clarity around who is the future you. And yes, that takes some confidence in who you are and what you're all about. We've just seen Dawn and Patricia stick their hand up and go, me, I will do this, because they are super confident. It means building confidence in yourself first so that you can start getting out there and teaching people about it, really understanding who is the customer, who are you trying to, in essence, market yourself to, so that you can then go and teach them, and understanding that you're already teaching them today. We just want to shift some of the language. And if you haven't heard me always say this, if you are on this call and you are looking for a job, all of the materials that you are using to market yourself are just keywords. And I think you are far more interesting than a bunch of keywords. And so figuring out how to get to, and yes, I know you have to do the application process and resumes, and I'm working on it. There's actually, I think I saw Val on the call earlier, who's actually on a little squad with me trying to figure that out. I absolutely want to see resumes gone before the end of this millennia. Well, no, not millennia, this decade. How about that? I want resumes gone. I think job descriptions gone. I don't think they serve any of you guys. I don't think they serve a hiring manager. They don't serve anybody. You are more than your keywords, and you need to learn how to teach people how you think rather than what you do. And so we start there with everybody, because that is why people connect with you in the future. And that is the value of you at the end of the day. Okay, so demo's over today. You are always welcome to come back, because we always have lively conversations about different scenarios. And I think next week on our noon show, we are talking about why you shouldn't use the phrase, I want to pick your brain. Oh my God, it's the worst. And I don't know any leader who likes that expression. There's a much better way of doing it, because the first thing that Dawn needs to do is actually kind of go pick her person's brain without letting anybody know. And there's a much better way of asking that. So it's a bit of a conversation around how to ask people for advice and be effective there. So just as a heads up on next show. Okay. Sorry, I've completely changed my roadmap for today, which I'm like, where am I going? What am I doing next? So next thing I wanted to just give you as a little bit of a roadmap the questions that I think you should ask. So one, who is the future me? Like, does she get who she is? I just talked a little bit about that. And am I excited about where she's going? Who needs to know? So who are my customers? Why would they care, and how do I teach them? And then how do I tell them? And the how could be a conversation, could be email, could be social media, all of those sorts of things. And if you want to come back and play with us on a show or do any of the work that we do, these are the questions that we help everybody answer when you go through the Future You programming with us. Which makes me want to come back and ask you guys a question. And that is, where do you want more help? Because we are looking down the end of 2020. Thank God, it's been a little crazy. And if we were to build more solutions, more products, more programming, more toolkits, more whatever, what do you guys want? Do you want community? Do you want little baby challenges so that you can do basic stuff? Do you want a community? All of those sorts of things. We're hearing a lot of votes for You Inc. Well, I'm going to turn this off, but we always like to hear feedback from the team. Feel free to continue to send in your results because we are also there. Before we wrap up and go into the challenge, I also just want to open a few minutes for quick Q&A. So Kylie, did we get any questions in the chat that you think I need to answer?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions that actually came in through Slido. One of them is, help, my circle sponsors do not appear to be comfortable introducing the new me.
That's really interesting. Whoever asked that question, are you fine with opening up your microphone? It is fine if you are not. Hey, Shar, they're not comfortable introducing you with the new you. Talk to me a little bit about so we have gone through the process of creating language to describe who you want to be. What response are you getting when you say they're not comfortable doing it? What's the problem?
Because I think I mentioned I'm going from design to analyst role.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big leap. And I even shared the intro that you helped me create. They love the intro. They just are not ready for the next step.
They won't introduce you, or they won't hit send on the email, or what?
It's more the intro. Like, I'm trying to network as well. And they're kind of, you can hear it in their voice. They're hesitant. They're like, wait, you're going from designer to analyst? Wait,
okay. What? So this is product analysis. You've got an objection you've got to unpack, because what I'm hearing is that they still don't believe it yet. And so there's two things that you can do. Is, I'm a big fan. So in the whole idea of teaching, especially, and Shar's doing a pretty dramatic pivot professionally. So this is going to take some time, but when you are trying to help somebody see something completely different, the best thing that you can do is actually point it out up front. This is one of the key skills that you learn when you are introducing a product or an idea that really throws people off. For those of you that haven't heard, I always talk about Hermes bags and how expensive they are. Example being, if I said to you, oh, let's go shopping for Hermes bags, they're on sale, and you didn't know what they were all about, and you walked in the store and found out they were $25,000 on sale, you'd be like, you are nuts. However, if I went, oh, we're going to go shopping for Hermes bags, and by the way, they're usually about $100,000 to $50,000, and we might be able to get one for $25K, you'd be like, that's a steal. Completely different thinking on just something when it comes to price. And so Shar's network, because you've been awesome at what it is you do, are really comfortable and familiar and see the value in old Shar. You need to help them get to the new Shar. And so you've got to do, like, actually coming back to them and saying, look, I hear that you understand my excitement, but you seem hesitant to share it. Can we talk about that? And actually calling the objection out and having the conversation, because you can't you can't brainwash somebody into something else. Kylie, anything else we have from the room?
Yeah, we have another question from Lisa. She's asking, how do you address the needs or problems of a company?
Of course, I can never quite answer it straight up. Lisa, do you on the call? Yes. Is it r/Lisa? Is that the Lisa? Hi. Can you give me a little context?
So I've been watching a lot of your live shows from the past on YouTube, and I'm kind of starting to understand the language of the future me and how to proposition it. But what I'm getting stuck at is that I believe it's on the sheet as well, but the what problems are you great at solving? Just trying to establish, what are the problems they need to be solving, so I could gap that, or bridge that.
Well, yeah, some of it is a bit of a guess, but a couple of things that I always recommend people do. We did a show a couple of weeks ago about unpacking the job description. One of the biggest tips I put on there was finding the $5 words in a job description, because as much as you don't like writing your resume, nobody likes writing a job description either. And if they put a $5 word in a job description, it means it's really important to them. So always pay attention to the $5 words. Anywhere where they've really written something original is a big red flag for me to go, ooh, there's something to do there. And so it's understanding that. I'm also a big fan of seeing if you can build your network and find other people in the organization and just say, like, where do you see gaps in the organization? If they're hiring for that role, where do you think they have need? And understanding, like, one of the big questions I always ask around what problems they need have solving is the problem they're trying to solve one that they have been solving over and over again for a while. So as an example, my guess is Patricia has some roles in her team that they've been hiring for ages, and they are really clear about who it is and what it is they want and the kind of character that is successful in a customer success role. Whereas on the opposite end of the spectrum, we've got Dawn, who her boss thinks they need somebody who doesn't look like them and sound like them, somebody who's external for whatever reason that is there. And it's actually figuring out what that is. I am always encouraging of actually asking that question when especially if you're talking to a recruiter, saying to them, like, as you think about this role, what problems do you think they're actually trying to solve at the end of the day? And they're going to give you the language. Because that, like, when you think about the whole hiring process, step one is not writing the job description. Step one is somebody in a meeting going, oh, crap, there's something new happening. And we either need to add more resources to a position that already exists, or we actually need to create a whole new role. And that's when the divergent, is it a repeatable role of which you want another character? Or is it a completely new role of which and then if it's a completely new role, often they are just guessing what they need. So really kind of predicting that and going through. The other thing I'll say is rely on your gut and your expertise, because in this eye-to-eye business, you want to fit in the role for you as much as they want you to fit in the role. And really understanding, like, what is your unique value and what is it you bring to the table and how to articulate that will also be really helpful in uncovering what kind of problems you want to solve. There's an expression in the recruiting world called a purple squirrel, which is somebody who is so uniquely qualified for the role that is kind of a no-brainer. And I sit here and I say, can't everybody be a bit of we're all purple squirrels, quite frankly, while we all have skills, but there's always something unique about you. And getting really clear about not only what is recognizable about you, but what is unique about you actually helps people go, oh, here is where I see potential. Because in that hiring process, and I say hiring, I mean this when you are helping people put people on projects, when you are trying to optimize a team, when a new department is getting spun up in your organization, doesn't matter. What they are choosing is potential. What they're choosing is potential. In today's world, we often make people guess what our potential is. And the clearer you can be about what your potential is and why people will care, the easier it is, again, for them to say yes. Awesome. If we didn't get to your question today, feel free to send us a note at hello@theamplify lab, or Kylie will send them over, because we do use your questions for a lot of how we decide what future shows we want to do, what articles I write. If you're not already following on either a Twitter or LinkedIn, we are prolific on there, sharing all sorts of ideas. I have one I'm actually going to share with you today. And so we're constantly sharing there. Of course, we also have the YouTube channel, which you can sign up. And if you're interested in signing up for one of the adventures, take a look on joannabloor.com or check things out. So I promised there would be prizes and giveaways and challenges at the end of this. So let me pop over there really quickly. So this morning, I posted on both LinkedIn and Twitter this statement that an expert is just a student with a different label. If you hang around me at all, you will all know that I say I am a student of all sorts of crazy things. Because yes, as a woman in the working world, we are not allowed to talk around and brag about ourselves because it's unfeminine. We'll unpack that story on a different day. But I posted this on both of my accounts and said, here are all the things that I am a student of. What I challenge you to do is go either onto LinkedIn or Twitter. You could do both if you want to, and actually answer the question, which is, what are you a student of? Because I am curious. And what we will do at the end of the day today is look at everybody who's posted, stick your names in a hat, because we've got your contact information. One lucky winner will get a 30-minute one-on-one with me, where you'll get some personalized and private consultation and time with the Joanna brain. So those are the two places to do it. Again, only answer it once, but you can answer both on LinkedIn and or Twitter. I'm assuming you're going to follow me there too, if you're not already. But that is my challenge for this week, because this is what I'm going to leave you with. This whole idea of future you and building a strategy for yourself cannot happen overnight. Unless you won the lottery, and I don't think that's going to happen for any of us. This is about taking micro steps to reteach people, because you have been teaching people who you are and what you're all about in the old construct for decades. And so start doing little things regularly to start changing the story of who you are and what you're all about. And eventually people will start to listen. So I want to thank you all for coming. I hope to see you all at a future show. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, we would love to see you there. Just a reminder, you are awesome. You are actually magic. And we'd love to hear about how you are. Have a great weekend and have a wonderful time until we see you next. Thanks, guys. Ultimately, we're here to help you figure out how to teach other people who the future you is, so that you can be you in the future. Because the clearer you are about who you are, what you want, and teach other people why that's awesome, the more likely you get to be you. I know, it's a bit of a circle. I'm Joanna, your potentialist and fairy godmother, and I wish you the very best. Thanks for coming.